want to talk about what happens when you go quiet on something you care about. Not because you gave up, but because something had to give, and it was that. And I'm going to try to give myself grace while I do it. When the gaps showed up, the silences between episodes, the times I went dark on content, the stretches where I wasn't showing up, I had a whole internal narrative running about it. And most of it wasn't kind. I told myself I was lazy. I told myself nobody was paying attention anyways. So what did it matter? I told myself I was operating like someone who had a full production team when I didn't. And who did I think I was expecting that level of output for myself without those resources? And then the most insidious one, you're probably not going to do it anyway. So why start? Shame is really good at sounding reasonable. It finds all your actual limitations, the real ones, the ADHD, the chronic illness, the solo operation, the finite energy, and uses them as evidence that you're not enough. Not that the circumstances are hard, that you specifically are the problem. And here's where I have to name the ADHD piece specifically, because I think it matters. There's this particular cruelty to the gap. It's not just that getting started is hard. It's that executive dysfunction makes it objectively harder to start than it is for other people. The brain doesn't fire the way it's supposed to when you're starting at the task. There's no smooth ramp up. There's friction, resistance, a kind of blankness that doesn't feel like avoidance, but functions exactly like it. And that part is real. That part isn't a story. But then shame shows up and piles on top of the already hard thing. Now you're not just dealing with a nervous system that makes initiating difficult. You're dealing with a nervous system that makes initiating difficult and a voice in your head calling you lazy for it. The shame makes the executive dysfunction worse. The executive dysfunction gives the shame more material to work with. And you end up frozen, not just because starting is hard, but because you've also just spent 20 minutes beating yourself up for not having started yet. And the thing is, it looks like a character flaw from the outside. It might even look like a character flaw from the inside if you don't know what you're dealing with. It looks like you don't care. It looks like avoidance. It looks like you keep saying you're going to do the thing and then you don't do the thing. But it's not that you don't care. You care. You care enormously. Sometimes the caring is part of why the starting is so hard. I had to keep reminding the part of me that thinks that way, who's actually in charge here? The thing I had to let go of most was the version of the show I thought I was supposed to have built by now. When I first started, it was a blog before it was a podcast. Blogging was the thing. List of goals, easy monetization timelines, the whole be up and running and making money in 90 days messaging. I fell for all of that. And when that didn't happen on schedule, the gap between where I was and where I thought I should be became its own source of shame. I had podcast mentors I looked up to. I watched other people from the same accelerator programs blow up. And I kept waiting for it to be my turn in a way that was actually keeping me from just doing the work in front of me. Being multi-passionate means something will hit me almost physically and light me up. I want to describe that feeling accurately because if you're built this way, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're not, you might be misreading it in the people around you. It's not just excitement. It's like the idea arrives and your whole body moves toward it before your brain has even finished processing it. It lights up something that feels like recognition, like, yes, this is the one. In that moment, it feels like everything before it was just clearing the runway for this new thing. The previous thing you were building doesn't disappear. It just suddenly feels like it was maybe practice, like it was the warm-up act. And this new thing is the reason you were supposed to be here. For a little while, you're in that glow, sketching it out in your head. You're seeing how it connects to other things you care about. It feels complete before you've done a single piece of it. And then the logistics hit. When are you going to do this? How is it going to fit alongside the thing you're already building? Where does the time come from? And the bandwidth and the money and the learning curve that comes with the new format or platform or skill set this new thing requires. Now you're staring at a to-do list that's already too long, trying to figure out how to add a whole new branch to a tree that's barely standing. The luster wears off quickly. The excitement drains and leaves behind this low-level guilt, because now you've also half abandoned the thing you were doing before. You didn't finish it. You didn't give it what it needed. You got distracted. The new thing didn't happen either, because the reality of it killed the momentum you needed to start it. You failed both things. Then you feel like something is wrong with you, because why can't you just pick one thing and stay with it? Why does everything feel like the most important thing until suddenly it doesn't? What is wrong with your brain? What is wrong with your follow through? Nothing is wrong with your follow through or your brain. This is what a multi-passionate person with ADHD actually looks like in practice. The dopamine seeking brain lands on the new idea and the neurochemistry responds immediately. You get the hit of excitement before you've done anything. That hit is real. It's not fake. It's not willpower you failed to summon. It's the way the brain is wired, seeking the next source of interest when the current one starts requiring the kind of sustained, non-exciting execution that doesn't generate the same response. Understanding that didn't make it easier to stop doing it, but it made it easier to stop hating myself for it. And that's the step that had to come first. I had to accept that I'm already out there. I'm already big enough to keep going. I don't have to wait until the physical material evidence shows up at my door. I'm on the highway. I just hadn't hit my exit yet. What made coming back feel possible this time is harder to pin to one thing, but I'll try. Going back to school has been a part of it in a way I didn't expect. The psychology and sociology I've been studying validated the things I had been doing instinctively. I could see the framework underneath the choices I'd been making, and that made it feel more real, more solid, less like I was just guessing. But honestly, some of it was just things getting moved out of the way. My marriage ending, and I say that without drama, just as a fact, clarified something. So I'm at South by Southwest. I'm in a conversation. I'm just talking, not pitching, not planning, not performing a version of myself I need someone to validate. Just talking about the show, about something I read, about an idea I had been turning over, about a conversation structure that could work as an episode. And it's coming out of me fluidly, without effort, without the internal friction I'd been dragging around every time I sat down to actually record. There's this moment where part of me steps outside the conversation and thinks, wait, why are you saying this? You're not even doing your own thing yet. You've been quiet. You don't get to talk about this stuff like it's real. And another part of me, quieter but there, thinks, but it is real. This is what it sounds like when it's real. The fact that it's coming out of you in a parking lot at 11 at night without any prompting means something. Pay attention to what comes out of you when you're not trying. That's the thing I keep coming back to. Ideas that are actually yours don't require effort to generate. They come out of you sideways when you're not looking. They show up in conversations you didn't plan to have. The ones you have to force are the ones you've convinced yourself you should want. The ones that keep surfacing without invitation, those are yours. I came home and I sat down and I recorded a whole day, not a segment, not a warm-up take, a whole day. I get anxious about recording. It's not stage fright exactly. It's more like preemptive dread in this sense that when I sit down to do it, it won't come out right, or I'll listen back and hate it, or it'll take forever and I'll run out of energy before I get through anything usable. That anxiety has canceled more recording sessions than I can count. But this time I just kept going. Set up to first take, to second take, to the next question, to the next segment, hours. The setup wasn't perfect. I wasn't fully done up. The chords were annoying, but I kept going. And when I listened back, it was there. The thing I was trying to make was actually there. I proved something to myself that day, not in theory, in practice, in a real day, with real imperfect conditions. And that proof lives in me differently than the intention did. That's what changed. If you also went quiet on something, I want to say this directly to you. It's okay that you did. Because if I hadn't gone quiet on this, if I had kept pushing through the hardest parts of this past year without stopping, what I would have put out would have been hollow. It would have been performance. It would have burned me out faster and left less of me to come back with. The quiet wasn't abandonment. It was the slow, messy process of figuring out what I actually want, what I need to stop going so hard on, what can exist without so many rules around it. I said earlier that I'm on the highway heading toward exactly where I want to go. Some stops to make along the way. Haven't hit the exit yet. And I want to be careful to not let that become a comfortable story I tell myself to avoid the discomfort of the present moment. I'm on my way can be so true. And it can also be the thing you hide behind when you're afraid to admit you've been parked at a rest stop for 6 months or 2 years or however long the last episode was. So here's the version that's more honest. The highway isn't a metaphor for patience. It's a metaphor for direction. You can be on the highway and also be moving. Those two things have to coexist. The highway doesn't take you anywhere if you're sitting in the breakdown lane, convincing yourself you're still in motion. What I'm saying to myself and what I'm saying to you isn't your time will come. It's this. You're already in the car. The road is already under you. The question isn't whether you deserve to be on it. The question is whether you're willing to put it in drive and let it be imperfect and bumpy and under construction in stretches. The comeback isn't a moment. It's the decision, repeated, to keep going even when the exit sign isn't visible yet. That's the difference between waiting on your timing and actually living it. This is the comeback arc, not because I disappeared and now I'm back and everything is figured out, but because I stopped waiting for things to be figured out before I showed up. If you've been sitting on something, a project, a show, a business, a version of yourself you haven't let out yet, I'm not going to tell you the timing is perfect. I'm going to tell you the highway is already under you. And the question isn't whether you're ready, it's whether you're willing to find out. Keep healing, keep showing up, but make it honest.